Welcome in, everyone, to the August 4th edition of the Fly for Fun show. It is our 31st show of the year. Captain Ray, tonight is, I guess, we have two great guests. We got, of course, the CEO of Autel Robotics, Randall Warnas, and Ron Brown from Drone Nation. And we were talking a little bit before the pre-show with Randall, and we'll get Randall on in a few seconds. Just want to go over a few things. We will be giving away some stickers. You can join us at our Facebook page there, the Fly for Fun show. Want to wish a couple birthdays out to Dennis Lovelady, Robbie Gray, Michael Wright, and Bill Brooks had birthdays this week. We got our Idaho quadcopter hat here that we're going to be pulling the 16 names for that remote Pilot 101 t-shirt that they answered a couple questions, part 107s, and we'll take care of that business probably at the end of the show or about 50 minutes into the show. So yeah, it's going to be a great show. Randall, I know you reached out to Randall, and you know he's just became CEO of Autel Robotics, so we're excited about that. And it seems like a down to earth guy. We were talking a little bit before, and you know it'll be an exciting show tonight. Randall wants to make, you know, he wants to get everybody into Autel. So Captain Ray, how was your week?
Well, I'll tell you, Johnny, I had another great week, you know, and again, we really appreciate Randall coming on the Fly for Fun show. You know, we know he's a busy guy and he's making time for us. And if anybody in the chat has any questions for him, please, you know, ask and we'll try to answer them. He seems like a real down to earth guy. And, but yeah, Johnny, you know where I was? I was at the Rhode Island drone meetup this weekend. Yeah, you know, and it was sponsored by Autel. You know,
yeah, and y'all had a great time.
Some giveaways, and I just happen to be wearing mine right here.
Yeah, you got your lanyard on. Yeah.
Lanyard. And I got an Autel pen. But you know, I got to see Autel drones flying up there, and you know, I included them in my video, and that is an awesome drone. It really is. You know.
Yeah.
We had a great time at that meetup. You know, I got to, you know, give a lot of credit to Mark Fisher and the Rhode Island Drone Meetup Group. You know, they really had a great turnout for this event, and the weather couldn't have been any better. You know, and there were all sorts of drones flying. I had such a great time.
I teased you about the weatherman. He even showed up because he flies drones. But, you know, I teased you about, you know, he probably wouldn't have showed up if it rained that day. But he was off the hook. So,
no, it was a great event. It really was, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got a great crowd in the house, too, Johnny. You know, it's amazing, you know. I don't know if it's because the show is becoming more popular, but I think it's because Randall Warnas and Ron Brown are our guests tonight, you know. But let me welcome in a few people. Matt Bagwell, thanks for stopping in. Sergio, Matty, how you doing? Jody, DroneWorks, Hot Rod in Daytona, you know. How you doing? Yellow Rose Drones. John Olson, right here from Long Island, and TJ, Florida. Bill Ronayne, Florida. Rhode Island drone guy, how you doing? I got to fly with you up there in Rhode Island this weekend. Sean Sullivan, how you doing? He was up in Rhode Island also. And Okie Tom, how you doing? And we're gonna show one of Sean's videos later in the show.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. You guys will like it. Gary Sullivan, he's another one I met up in Rhode Island along with John Bonenfant. You know, we're going to show one of Gary's videos later in the show. Jerry Bauer, Canada. You know, I'm telling you, Johnny, we got a great crowd here. Third Eye View, good to see you. Eddie Nunez from New York City.
Yeah, Eddie, I see Eddie in here. Yeah,
and Angie, Lost Girl Hikes, Texas. You know,
a future guest.
How you doing, Michael? How you doing? And Robbie, Travel Tech 360, you know, Steve, Tom, how you doing? I'm telling you, we'll get to the rest of the names shortly, you know.
Yeah, Ray, you know, we got if you want to introduce Randall, we'll get him in here. He's sitting back there eating some shrimp cocktail and crawfish or whatever, but I don't want to eat all that.
Randall Warnas, you know, the CEO of Autel Robotics, you know, he answered my email. I mean, within an hour, I had a response, and he said he'd be on our show. He's also going to sponsor the South Florida Drone Meetup that we're going to hold in April of next year, April 2nd, 2022. And he seems like a real nice guy, and he's going to tell us all about hotel drones. Welcome, Randall.
There it is. Yeah, thank you guys. I'm happy to be a part of this. You're probably setting up too much expectations of me being a nice guy. You're gonna find out that the opposite, depending on how this conversation goes and how much you guys give me grief. So we'll see how it goes.
No, Randall, we want to make it as comfortable as possible. Listen, and I got a couple questions. And if anybody, I do ask if anybody wants to ask anything, kind of let Randall go through his little spill. Randall, if you want to just give us a brief background, tell us a little bit or as much as we want to know about you. And then, we'll get into we want to know about you a little bit personally, and we'll get into the drone stuff, of course,
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you both then. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is where I was born and raised. I have a master's degree in international politics from American University. So I was in the, I guess, civil service area of the world for a while. That was kind of my path. I went to officer candidate school with the Navy to do intelligence, and I actually dropped out to continue my drone life. So in 2014, I just had graduated from graduate school, and I was waiting to go to officer candidate school. And I met two guys in Las Vegas who said they wanted to start a drone business. I had been doing
a brick and mortar type business, Randall.
Well, so I was doing military drone projections with the DIA before this, and so when they said drones, I was thinking, like many people thought back in 2014, militarized drones and not phantoms. But I meet up with these guys, they put a Phantom 1 on a table, and they're basically like, we want to start the first brick and mortar drone retail store. So we started a company called Drones Plus. The first location was in Las Vegas. We opened that up in June of 2014. We started with around, I think it was around a $25,000 PO with DJI. Within, I would say, 9 months, we were doing about $1.4 million a month turnover of drone technology.
Nice.
People were flying in from Qatar, from Brazil, from all over the world to see drone technology in person, because this was like early adopters where they wanted it. They just, there were limited places you could get it. It was mostly like Amazon, eBay, e-commerce stuff where you weren't going to get a lot of support. So we were, Vegas is a magnet for a lot of people trying new things, and at the time drones were quite new. So we started that brick and mortar location. We opened up 15 locations within the first year. Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. We had one in New Orleans, so not too far from you, Johnny. We had one in Orlando, Miami, Honolulu, two of them up in Canada. So we did this land grab thing with drone retail because we figured if you're able to support the local customers and people want drone technology, consumers and early adopters, we should be there. So we ran that business, kept it growing up until the very last day that I was there, when DJI reached out and asked me to join their team to start their drone retail efforts, which were expected. It never ended up happening, but in October of 2015, I joined DJI. Went to Shenzhen for my first 5 weeks, and after those 5 weeks, it was kind of like, well, instead of doing drone retail, what about you kicking off DJI Enterprise? So myself and two of my colleagues at DJI started the framework and foundation of DJI Enterprise, which has grown to a significant a chunk of what DJI does today.
Exactly.
A big portion of that was really democratizing aerial thermal imaging, and that was in partnership with FLIR. We released the Zenmuse XT in December of 2015, and so my relationship with FLIR was always quite close. And during those days, I went to Goleta at a FLIR facility and built the first Zenmuse XTs, like basically turning the screws and testing them with those people at FLIR. So for a while, I was selling a lot of thermal stuff because we didn't have enterprise airframes yet, and just kind of trying to create what didn't exist before, which is a user group of firefighters and police departments and solar inspectors and things like that using drone technology. And then in 2017, FLIR reached out, asked me to run their drone efforts globally. Their commercial drone efforts globally is what I was trying to say. So I joined FLIR, was there for a little over 4 years, running their efforts. So more thermal imaging, less on the airframe side, and watching the airframe business morph, and watching, you know, DJI go from the kind of only manufacturer to that being split with, you know, dozen others because of, you know, geopolitical factors, because of, you know, some people wanted fixed wing, some people want VTOL, etc. That more manufacturers started popping up, and regulation became more and more crucial to understand.
Yeah.
So, you know, watch that from kind of the sidelines of being pretty much a payload guy rather than an airframe
Right.
guy.
That's where
And
you
then
made you. That's where you made your living.
exactly. But I, you know, watching it for 4.5 years and going from DJI to kind of a DJI partner, but still like a bystander to things that were going on. Of course, I had witnessed all of the, you know, left turns that should have been right turns, and all the mistakes that were being made by manufacturers in my mind. And I'm happy
Yeah.
to share what I think those are. But I knew I was going to leave FLIR once the acquisition of FLIR by Teledyne closed, which was in May of this year. And I was talking to, at one point, I think I was sitting on 7 offers from different drone companies
Wow.
that I was going to take on different
Yeah.
roles, and I was trying to weed those out. And just by chance, Autel, a recruiter at Autel had heard my name keep popping up, and they reached out and said, "Would you be interested in, you know, potentially joining the team?" And I already had, you know, things that I was quite interested in, but I said, sure, let's talk about that. And that evolved into taking over as CEO. I'm 35. I'm married. I have a 10-month-old baby. Like, I got a lot of life going on inside the house, but for
Yeah.
the last year, we've been all inside our homes, spending more time there than out in the world. So it was a little bit, you know, it's a bit of a different dynamic for me because I'm a CEO that works remotely. Our headquarters is in Seattle. I live in Salt Lake City, so I'm grateful that, you know, in a way, we learn to value employees that, you know, can sit in their basement and get double the amount of work done. I probably would not be in the same situation if COVID hadn't happened, and that it really proved out, you know, trusting the infrastructure and the people that you have, and
Yeah.
how much trust is necessary. So I brought on what I consider a second to none team in the drone industry. The people that I've brought on board, like John McBride, aka Drone Jesus, who's one of the more recognizable faces in the drone industry, to bring
Yep.
someone like him on board who has been flying RC technology for 30 years, drone technology for 20 years, and scrutinizing it. I think we're in a good place where we're getting a lot of, you know, attention. We have a lot of public facing people under one roof, where that doesn't really exist in the drone industry. And me being the CEO, coming on this show is a pleasure for me, because I don't know how many CEOs of manufacturers you'd reach out to before someone would say yes. And
Yeah.
it's
No.
not that you're not
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
and it's not that you're not doing something valuable. It's that what they see is only, you know, only focus on big opportunities, only focus on enterprises that, you know, are 50 million revenue or more. Like, there are that kind of terminology that gets thrown out by manufacturers and others in the drone industry. And I've seen
Exactly.
this, pardon me, but I've seen this shit from the beginning, and I found the most value in my experience in talking to people that fly drones, not just, you know, buy drones. And I feel like it's a privilege to be in this position.
You know, you got quite the story, really, Randall. You know, and obviously you got a lot of experience. You know, and I've seen the flare camera on the Autel Evo, and it really impresses me. It does. You know, I was flying with one of the guys at the meetup, and he demonstrated it for me again, and the quality of the video and that flare camera is amazing.
I agree completely, obviously, and I think that when you put these tools into hands of, you know, public safety entities, or in solar inspection, it's become pretty much the standard that you use drone technology rather than traditional ground-based methods. That we as an industry, and this is including, you know, recreational users of drones, just want to see the greater acceptance and understanding of what this technology is bringing forward. Yeah, like, there's at times drone users can be an annoyance to some people, and some people aren't on board with it. But shutting down an entire industry because of that, or giving it bad press when it doesn't deserve it, if you turn around and look at how many lives have been saved, how many
Absolutely.
how many wildfires or structural fires have been supported by drone technology, it's like that doesn't get publicized enough.
No.
And it gets glossed over, where you have one instance at Gatwick, or at was it LaGuardia? That was the other one.
Yeah, they had that incident in L.A. at the helicopter. I know.
The media loves jumping on those stories. That's for sure. You know?
And we have to combat it with having 20 good stories for every one negative story. But who's pushing that? And one of my big threads in things I say is drone leadership is strange, because the CEO of DJI, you haven't heard him speak publicly since 2015.
Right. Wow.
The CEO of Skydio is a friend of mine, and I respect Adam a lot, but he's an engineer at the core, and he doesn't necessarily want to be in the spotlight. So what happens is there's people under these CEOs that say things, but then the company can back away from it and say, no, that's somebody,
Yeah, he didn't say that. Yeah, the CEO didn't say it.
Exactly. So the CEO of Parrot, Henri, another guy I know, but he's not speaking publicly. Chris Anderson from 3DR, formerly of 3DR, now at Kitty Hawk, was one of these guys that was where he was kind of like a beacon of leadership for the drone industry, even when he exited the drone manufacturing space. And he's still kind of a pseudo mentor for me. But who else do we have? Michael Chasen of Precision Hawk was doing every single keynote known to man, and he was in the drone industry for like a blip of a second, came from Blackboard, the education software platform, into drones, made some money, and then left. And there's just too much of that, and there's not enough people willing to like put their necks on the line and come out and interface with the public.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I mean,
is that there is great demand for drones, and drones for good, drones for working, and recreational drones. And there's a big market out there, and DJI needs the competition. They really do.
I think DJI knows they need competition. If you ask, and I'm not speaking for him, but if you ask Brendan Schulman, who's their VP of policy, basically the scrutiny that DJI has is so extreme because they are really the only player. And so if we can do something slightly different and soften that, and it's not necessarily bad for DJI. DJI does not want to lose market share. They don't want to be replaced, and I can understand that. But everyone is so far off from catching them that having another voice, another seat at the table that is promoting the proliferation and the growth of the pie rather than hoarding all of it makes sense. A lot of the Blue UAS US based drone manufacturers cannot manufacture enough drones in 10 years to make what DJI makes in 1.
right.
And so how do you replace 2 million drones that are being bought from DJI because they're a Chinese manufacturer and bring that over to the US? As of right now, we can't. And as of right now, regardless of what seat I'm sitting in, I think that it would be a very bad thing for the entire industry to have it shrink and make it so that you can only fly these certain manufacturers of drones because of where they're made. Because there's the topic or the conversation all started about cybersecurity. But DJI is probably more scrutinized on their cybersecurity than any other drone manufacturer in the world. And just because the guy sits in Shenzhen and not Detroit doesn't mean that he's not making something just as viable, just as secure as,
I agree.
as one another.
Rand, I'm gonna bring Ron in, and just because he's sitting in the back, and we'll add this Ron Brown from Drone Nation. He does own an Autel Evo too, so
that's my kind of guy.
He'd be a great guy.
That's he just uses it as a paperweight. He just has it on his stack.
No, he flies a lot. He lives in New Jersey, and so he does fly a lot at the beach. So he's a great guy, and he does have some insight, with Autel. So, and that's why I asked Ron to be on. But
Randall, you have more experience with Autel drones, but Ron has some experience with the drone, and we figured he could ask better questions than we could. But Randall, before we get into Ron and his questions, do you have any things in the works? Maybe a mini drone or something like that? Anything?
So
Autel is working on that you care to share?
So a few things. One, we just put out what I consider, and I think I could back it up, the largest end user survey ever done in the drone industry. I talked to Drone Deploy recently, and they said they had 2,700 respondents, and they claim to be the largest drone end user survey. Ours was just over 5,000. It was almost 5,100 respondents to a survey telling us what people want built into drone technology. It's statistically significant data that we're taking to try to make our products better. But there's no secret that people want a under 250 gram drone, and that precedes me as CEO over 2 months. So we understand that that's a demand, that's a requirement, and I think that people will be pleasantly surprised what we're putting together in the near future.
Good.
I'm glad to hear that. I really am.
Yeah.
Randall, we were talking, Ron and I were talking yesterday, and of course, CaptainRay. I mean, and this is, I'm sure it's a question you already know the answer, I'm sure, but do you, of course, you need inventory. You need to get some more drones in people's hands. And is that one of the first steps, or will there be something in between a Mini and an Evo too,
So say that again?
Now, I'm talking, do you need to get more, say, drones in people's hands as far as that medium price range? Will it be something like like an Air 2 or Air 2S model also coming?
Yeah. So basically there's a ladder that drone users often progress through. They start with something maybe, big box store bought. I want to just fly a drone and see what that's like.
Right.
And if you have flown something that is, under $150, and then you step up to something that has GPS built into it and has some technology around it, it's night and day different. Right?
Absolutely.
Even when I was in my drone store in 2014, just explaining to someone how easy it is to just let go of sticks and let it hover, like that's a significant jump in the drone process.
Yeah.
So we want to make it so that people are not having to have that negative experience of a product that doesn't have real technology in it. And there's not that much of a jump from what you would buy a toy drone for $150 at Walmart a few years ago to what you can get in the $300-$400 price range.
Absolutely,
and it's just going to be an overall better experience and keep people in drones, right? Because you could buy those things and be like, forget this, I'm crashing this thing all over my house. It flew away from the wind in my backyard. So I encourage anybody that is in that position to save up those pennies, because it's going to be a night and day difference to get something that actually has technology behind it.
Absolutely.
DJI makes amazing technology.
Yeah.
I am DJI's competing CEO. I value everything that they do for this industry, and the entire industry was built on DJI's back. The software that is compatible with drone technology doesn't exist if they don't have a million or millions of users to address with their software. So we understand that right now, many people that are trying to get to that, either that first drone, that introductory drone, or stepping up from that toy drone, they're finding DJI stuff. We at Autel believe that we can fill that void just as well.
Sure.
We have always focused on our cameras, our imagery, image capturing sensors, the data that you're getting, to make that a little bit better than what DJI is putting out. We also, as a complete teaser exclusive to you guys, is that we're looking at having a variety of different colors other than just Autel orange, which has been associated with the brand for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that when I've seen these things, it's exciting because we're listening to the feedback. Actually, people really like the orange. It does make us stand out.
It does, yeah.
Having options, having
a
way to identify yourself with your drone, as much as people use it and love it, you should have some customization. It's not like endless customization, but there are some ways to determine that's mine, right? And so we're taking cues from other industries, the cell phone industry, the automotive industry, and trying to put more of that thinking behind our products. So yeah, lower cost drones, we're with it. We want to do that. We're also going to be working all the way up the ladder to what we have, the Dragonfish, which is $120,000 persistent surveillance VTOL, and everywhere in between we're trying to cover, so that if you're flying drone technology, we have at least an option for you.
Good. We're glad to hear all this good info. We really are, Randall.
So the questions that keep popping up, because it's not like my platform, I see them come up and I just go, oh, that's cool that someone's asking stuff, but I don't see like a repository of them. So are you guys wanted to do a Q&A?
Well, yeah, I mean, I got one on the screen if you can see that one.
Yeah, so Autel working with third-party software. So we already are fully integrated with Pix4D, Mapper, React, and their new one. I think we're working on Matic as well, but it already exists. So 3D art, yes. Drone deploy, huge priority for us to get something going with drone deploy.
Okay.
It's, we're working on it. Lychee, I don't know what that is personally, and sorry.
Well, Lychee's third-party software has been around for years, mostly for DJI, where they added things like waypoints and flying FPV long before DJI added to their built-in software.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as direct integration, we don't have it yet, and there's not any conversations with it. But if you want it, you bringing it up is exactly how we start those conversations, and so maybe in the near future we will. But yeah, like I said, loud and clear. When someone asks for something, we want to address it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Even though our show is called the Fly for Fun Show, we got a lot of professional drone pilots in the chat, and they are very knowledgeable. Johnny and I are not experts by any means, and we depend on them and guys like yourself and Ron Brown.
Yeah, Randall, one question I know y'all just had, and it's popped up in the chat, but I had it here. Y'all just had an update, and of course they had geo fencing. So, and I know I saw an interview you did, and listen, nothing wrong with following the rules, and I think, and this is just me looking on the outside, I think you're just trying to get ahead of the curve, and you're not telling somebody they can't take off. You're just warning them. Big difference.
I agreed, and I saw that pop up, and I was like, yeah, that's so. Just a quick story for the people listening.
Yeah.
The Ken Dobo show was kind of how we got kind of linked up.
Right.
I was on his show about a month ago. Right. And then the conversation was, what's the situation with this V1, V2 chip change situation? That was the topic there. I don't know if this geofencing no-fly zone thing is the same, but let me address that and make that at least this platform to explain what's going on. So in 2 countries in the world, they are starting to mandate no-fly zones. So we looked at it and said, all right, we're going to put together a library of no-fly zones globally, and we're going to put it into our software. We're not going to mandate no-fly zones in the places that are not mandated, but we are going to give a warning that you are in a restricted airspace. We have no intention on limiting you where you fly. I am standing by that. When you drive a car, you don't put in your driver's license to make it start, right? We do not need to police that. If you are flying in a place that you shouldn't be flying, shame on you.
Right.
Exactly.
You should know that you are not only taking, the public safety in your own hands, but you're also taking the longevity of this industry in your own hands when you're flying in a place you shouldn't. Near fires, obviously a no-no. Near airports, obviously a no-no. So for us to tell you, hey, there's a TFR, there's something going on here that you shouldn't be flying, respect that. But we're not going to stop you because maybe you do have the permissions to fly there, and we don't want to cut you off.
Exactly. And every drone pilot is responsible for their flight, and that's the bottom line.
Right, exactly. I feel this exact same way, but there's no intention for us to lock anybody out. There's not going to be that sort of program. And to be honest, that's one area where DJI and their forward looking has caused them some issues, is that people don't appreciate being policed like that and being parented like that. And we just aren't in the same place to necessitate that. I think that,
and it's something that the FAA though could come down and say, hey, you have to turn that on completely, that you can't take off, but you're a little bit ahead of the curve and you're being proactive, which is better than being behind.
We would be ready to go if the FAA did mandate that. We're hoping that they don't, because I think that we should look at other industries where you don't have a governor on your car saying the speed limit's 65, so your car knows, because a lot of cars do know how fast the road is that you're driving on these days, and they're not limiting you. you get to make that choice.
Randall, I have a question up, and it
Yeah.
was popped up a couple times. Something about the bodies cracking in the Evo 2. I mean, and that's probably, I know before you got there, but have that's been a problem, or has that? I mean,
so I've seen stuff. I think that, again, me giving my email out on the Dobo show, and I'll do it again here, is there, you know, people are looking at their investment and they don't want to see things like this happen.
right.
So I've seen images of the body cracking. It's not like I can't trivialize other people's issues, but for me, it's like, is it affecting your performance? Is it actually falling apart? Is it doing something that it shouldn't be doing? Is it a cosmetic thing that you probably have to put a microscope out to realize? Yes, it's like when my wife has a pimple or something, she's thinking about it all day long. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just how it goes. So it's your drone and you're looking at it every day and you don't want cracks. I get that.
Right.
It wouldn't be the same problem. It wouldn't bother me as much as it bothers some. But I'm not trivializing it. I think that there has been, and if I can't dig it up quickly, then it's on me to produce something where there has been explanations of what's going on with the body cracking. I know that it's been addressed in certain places, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I know in one of the chats somebody.
Well, Johnny, we have a time to fly in chat right now. That's Al Diaz. He's a big guy in the drone community. He has an Evo 2. He's had it cracked 4 times. Now he's sent it in all 4 times, and Autel has replaced it for him. But it still, it still brings a lot of attention when he shows these cracks on his Facebook page. You know, this 4 different times.
But they took care of it. So I mean, that's
he did get taken care of.
We took care of it, and I've talked to Al directly. So Al has been somebody that has emailed me, and he and I have gone back and forth on certain things. So I'm, again, I'm listening to people. You bring up Al Diaz, I know the name.
I know. I'm impressed. Al.
I could tell you specifically the people he's been talking to, and specifically the conversation that's been had. But at the end of the day, one, I've inherited problems that I don't know the solutions for because I didn't choose the materials, I didn't choose the way that they were manufactured, and I don't think that anyone's wanting things to be end of life or to be discontinued because of these cracking issues. We're just going to have to roll with them. And with Al, we've replaced it 4 times without question, and hopefully we are still going to be someone that he trusts to provide drone technology. But DJI has had
Mark Fisher is I just put it up. He sent his and he had a little hairline crack and he said quick turnaround. So hey, that's all you can ask.
And Randall, for you to get involved in issues like this and talk to the customer, that says a lot.
And it puts a lot of pressure on me and the organization, and it also takes a lot of time to make sure that everyone gets what they need. On the Dobo show, I said, hey, if you email me, just make it brief. And the first few were brief, and then I get stories, I get paragraphs, and to be honest, I keep those for the end of the day, and if it leaks into the next day, it's okay, and if it leaks into the next day, it's okay, and it's just because I want to give these responses attention, but I don't always have. Huh? What was that?
Always better to be short and sweet in an email.
100%. Because it's not that I don't care about the background story. It's that I need to respond in a way that I've understood the whole situation. And I can't do that in the 3 minutes that I have between phone calls or whatever. Or I can't read it while I'm on phone calls and respond to it because I'm thinking about 2 things at once. And when it comes to the end user, you are the most important person.
Ron's sitting there, and I know Ron wants to tell us how great his Evo 2 is, right, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I was an early adopter. It was probably out 6 months before I bought the Evo 2. I have all the DJI drones and the Parrots and this Skydio, whatever, and I got it, and right from the go. I mean, I guess I've been a couple firmware updates in, so I got things improved that the early users did. But, I've been very happy with the drone, very impressed with the camera. I mean, I fly it as much as I do my DJI drones at this point. So, I mean, and when anybody asks me, I give a lot of positives about it. But I do have a couple questions. I reached out to some of the big people in the Autel community out on YouTube to send me a couple questions to ask you. You mind if I filter a couple questions? This is from Hot Rod in Daytona, Rod Hansen, Captain Ray, and Johnny, I both got to meet Rod personally at the Great Florida Drone Meetup. He was flying his all-talent Sunrise when I pulled the car up, and he has a question, and him and my other guy both asked questions about the all-talent Mini. So you've already talked about that. But Rod says, any plans for a trade-in program for version 1 drones or controllers when the V2 equipment is available?
Okay.
So that the question is answered in a way that I'm gonna answer it how it was asked, which is, are there any plans? No, there's no plan. We have not formulated anything that is specific to this problem. But am I open to the conversation of how we fix these issues? Yes. So let me explain what I consider an issue that needs to be fixed versus one that's kind of a tough shit situation. If you bought a version 1 smart controller and you have a version 1 Evo 2, and then an Evo something down the line comes out that is compatible with an Evo 2 a version 2 smart controller, but your version 1 does not talk to that airframe, I will be willing to say with almost 100% certainty there will be a program which you can then send in your version 1 smart controller, get a version 2 smart controller, because you already made that investment. It just isn't compatible with the thing that you want to buy. So that is a very reasonable ask. Now, there's another version of that, which is you have a version 1 airframe, but there's no version 1 smart controllers left, and you really, really wanted a smart controller. In most, and when I say most, I mean 99% of cases, people did not buy the Evo 2 version 1 knowing there was going to be a smart controller.
Right.
And in a way, it's like, yeah, it sucks that there's this upgrade that you can't get, but that exists in the world. That's like a thing we have to deal with all the time.
And this phone is old 6 months after it comes out.
100%. So I don't want to, again, trivialize your loss or what you don't get to have. But we had an issue in which we could only manufacture a certain number of these smart controllers. And if we would have continued manufacturing those smart controllers so that a few more people would be like, I have a bigger screen now. And like it's not, again, not trivializing that. It's important to some people, some missions, or even if it's not important, it's something you want. But we just couldn't make more. And if I'm now saying, okay, I'm trading out a version 1 airframe for a version 2 airframe, so then you maybe could get a version 2 smart controller, it's a little like, show me a program that's done that and I'll be like much more understanding. But in the drone industry, we're not huge. DJI is pretty huge, and DJI doesn't do something like this. We would be taking in a lot of used airframes we can't do anything with to just switch them for a new airframe that maybe you'll get a version 2 smart controller. So how I will conclude this is, when there's a version 2 smart controller, bring me back on the show when that exists, when they're out, and then by then we can revisit the topic when it actually is a thing. But right now,
it's good.
Maybe people are going to be getting something else, and the version 2 smart controller won't be such a focus at that point.
Yeah. Well, Randall, we got a big fan in the chat right now, and that's Mark Fisher of the Rhode Island Drone Meetup Group. I have to say, he is constantly talking about how great the Autel drones are. He loves his, and he almost is the one that got me sold.
What do you mean almost?
Here's a funny Mark Fisher story. So at the Great Florida Drone Meetup, when Mark first gets there, he walks up to me, we start a conversation. One of the first questions Mark Fisher says to me, he says, what has the better camera, Mavic 2 Pro or Evo 2 Pro? And I looked, thought for a second. And I said, if you're not really the camera guy, if you're just Dr. Auto on the settings, the Mavic 2 Pro. But if you like to get in there and fiddle with your camera settings, I'd go with the Evo 2 Pro. He gave me this big smile, whatever, because I think that's kind of the way he thinks.
Because he already had it. That's why, yeah. And he knew that. Yeah, he's a camera guy.
Yeah. I think that DJI makes incredible technology, and we need to differentiate. we do focus on the camera and the sensor in most cases at a different level than DJI. That is where we are putting our emphasis, is that if you are a recreational user, your experience with the camera is going to be more options and better quality. Then when you get into, you know, the industrial space, how you have interchangeable payloads on an airframe that is the size of an Evo, where you can take a RGB camera and put thermal on, doesn't exist. With DJI, you have to buy 3 different airframes to get zoom, to get thermal, and to get RGB. And in our case, it's just swapping payloads. So we're trying to make the experience better. And when I say we, that's been going on at Autel since before I joined. But now, like, we're going to stick to the things that make us special. We're going to stick to the things that keep us having an extremely loyal user base.
Mhm.
And, you know, if we can find ways, Ray, to, you know, make you interested in joining the pumpkin patch, then we're gonna do those things and get you there, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll sell Ray a little harder too next time I get to fly with him on the Evo 2 Pro. And I'm glad you mentioned the you know, the interchangeable cameras, because that's a question both you know, Hot Rod had, and 808 State, who was also a big man in the Autel community. When I first bought my Evo, he's one of the people I went to watch his live shows, everything, because he broke the Evo 2 down better than almost anybody, you know, on YouTube. But both of them asked the same question. They said, you know, at the 2020 you know, the show in Las Vegas, they showed the interchangeable cameras, and, you know, we had the, you know, the 8K, the 6K, and then the, you know, the FLIR type camera. But they both want to know, are we going to get any other camera options besides those? Will there ever, they both asked, will there ever be anything like a, you know, a zoom, like an optical zoom camera, or maybe, you know, they didn't give me an example, but something else besides just the 3 cameras we already have?
So I was talking to someone recently, and I can't remember who it was, or else I would give them a plug as well. But I was talking to someone in the drone industry, and they were talking about Zoom. And I said that Zoom is not the #1 thing people ask for, but it's atop the list. And then I looked. So we did this end user survey, 5,100 people responding. And I think that Zoom capabilities was the 5th most important characteristic for a drone to the number of users, both recreational and industrial. So to add Zoom makes a hell of a lot of sense, but you're gonna have to wait to see when that comes out. But it is loud and clear. People want Zoom. I think that we're going to continue to make different thermal payloads, as well as look into like the multi-spectral space to make it better for surveying and mapping applications. So that's kind of where we're headed.
Randall,
And 808 State also asked if there would be any possibility of getting like a Micro Four Thirds, you know, size camera, you know, as a replaceable module.
So again, camera quality is something that we're focusing on. Micro Four Thirds is a pretty big sensor to put on a small drone like that. I think 1-inch sensors are kind of where the sweet spot is of having a high-end quality camera for an airframe that size. But it's not out of the question. We just need more justification to do so.
Good answer. Thank you.
Randall, QC guy's asking, you can see it up there, says, I need camera gimbal parts made available. They're almost impossible to find. And I mean, that's...
If you get with support at autelrobotics.com, that's going to be the best place to find out what we do. I can't say that I've combed through the entirety of how people get parts and how people get things repaired, etc. I know that they're going to take care of you, and you can CC me, Randall, at autelrobotics.com, and feel free to use that. Tell me your stories, tell me stuff that you're dealing with. But yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. But real quick, I want to put in my number. 1 through 50 is 13.
13. Okay, that's not the number, Randall.
This is more of a suggestion and question. This comes from Hot Rod and Hill, but I've heard this from many people. In the UI interface for the app, a lot of these users are used to a battery percentage countdown, and on the Evo 2, it's just bars. You know, like basically like your cell phone type bars that show you strength of signal. It's not a countdown in that UI. Will there ever be a possibility of adding that, you know, like battery countdown percentage rather than just having a graphical interface of bars?
Yeah, so I think that it certainly makes sense. And you're like giving me slow pitches over the plate, brother. Is it possible?
Right.
Hell yeah, it's possible. Is it happening tomorrow? Probably not tomorrow, but it's feedback, right? Like,
Right.
honestly, Ron, this is the first time that I've heard someone say, look, we want a percentage or something that's a little more descriptive than just bars. I get it.
And
It
that's
makes
great you're
sense.
on this kind of a show, because this is what people, every time I'm on a whole bunch of drone shows and I hear this topic over and over again, just like Johnny already asked you about the geofencing. I go in a show and if I mention the Evo 2 Pro, I get all this kind of angry response. Oh, they're geofencing, they're geofencing. So I mean, you've given some answers to really, quell some of the things that, in the community when you go to these shows and you hear a little negative feedback on drones. So thank you for a lot of these answers.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why I think it's so valuable for me to be on a platform like this, where it's maybe we're not bumping into each other regularly, but we have an opportunity for me to speak for the company and represent ourselves and tell the story, firsthand. I think that's always, it always feels better and maybe confidence building when you know that there's someone standing behind what they're saying. And I'm not trying to dodge these questions. I'm trying to be completely honest that not everything is as easy as, blink and it's done. So we want to hear the feedback and build the drone that you want. And if it's putting a percentage instead of a bars like on a cell phone, like, seems pretty easy. It takes some convincing of people to do it. There is some work behind it, but if that's what it's going to take for people to smile a little brighter when they're flying their drone, easy. Like, we'll make that happen.
Right. And
Randall,
like you mentioned the
Randall,
survey earlier. You put out that great survey, and hopefully people that wanted this stuff put that in the open comments. That was a question, and I love the survey. I took it as soon as it came out, and you go offered the chance, I think, to win a drone if you took the survey too. And I got 2 DJI surveys last week, and neither of them were as good as the survey you guys sent out a month or so ago.
And I'll say that's a me thing. I believe in having end users speak for themselves. And so I built the survey out myself with validation from our team of just making sure that they understood where I was going with this. And I evaluated the results of the survey myself. So all the other fill in the blank, like, I ask you a question and it's none of those things. You want to give me another? I read through 5,000 responses to the others. And there's the question that says, what else? Like, what other things do you want to tell us? And I read through 5,000 freehand open paragraph things about what we can do. And I've collated that all into, like, here is what we need to be as a brand to start winning, to pull people, into the Autel fold, grow the pie, make a drone that people are lusting after.
Well, it must feel good. It must feel good that you have 5,000 customers that engaged, that they're going to rate you this type of feedback.
Blows my mind. And again, I think it's the largest end user survey in the drone industry. DJI could do one larger if they gave a shit, and maybe they'll start giving a shit if they're like, oh, Autel has a guiding light that is their users. Maybe we should consider that. Like, I'm good with it. I am fine with people taking pages out of my playbook if it's going to be better for the industry. Right now, the standards are so low in the drone industry of who gets listened to and who doesn't, who gets supported and who doesn't, who can get a Skydio drone and who can't. Because if you order one, you're waiting a long time unless you are a part of a 3-letter organization or unless you're getting it from Axon. That's really like how it seems. So how do we grow this pie if you have this geopolitical thing of China's bad, buy Skydio, but we can only make 5,000 drones a year, and so we're going to pick our favorite 5,000 people, and they can fly drones, but everyone else shouldn't be able to fly them because they're Chinese. It's a weird world we live in right now, and I'm just trying my best to bring sanity to the conversation, that we're in this to grow drones, to make it so that when you're flying a drone out at a park, that there's 5 other people flying their drones at a park because it's just that common, rather than have 10 people come and harass you while you're flying your drone. We want to get to that world.
Randall, I got a question up. Will they be an FPV style drone?
DJI did their work on the FPV drone. I think it would be stupid for us to chase that. As of right now, that's not something that we have like in locked and loaded. The FPV community is huge. The racing Drone Racing League is a big deal, and we think that they're also part of this proliferation of drone technology, being on ESPN and showing that many people,
Sure.
you know, what somebody looks like with a pair of goggles on, whipping through hoops and stuff. But I just think that we're really behind on that, and it's not necessarily a good focus for us.
Randall, the chip shortage is that is it real or fake, or is it kind of somewhere in between?
The chip shortage is as real gets.
Okay.
I mean, not only this is a COVID driven issue,
Right.
But it's a global, across all technologies,
Right.
chip shortage. It's not just something that the drone industry is experiencing. But I've been transparent about this, that we had a chip shortage issue that could be resolved by changing to another chip, as well as pressure to change to another chip because we were using ZTE chips, which are on the blacklist of the Department of Commerce with this NDAA compliant stuff. So if we want to become NDAA compliant and we want to, put in chips that are being approved or respected by the U.S. federal government, what a better time to do that than when you're at the end of a global pandemic.
Right.
You have a global chip shortage in technology, and we had pressure to do it anyway. So it's real, but it's obviously a strategic thing as well.
Well, I have to say, Randall, this has been one of the most interactive shows we've had between the people in the chat and their questions, and obviously you and Ron. You know, it really was a great show.
Well, I again am privileged to have been a part of it. Some of the questions came and went, and I don't know if we got to all of them. And
I think so. I've been putting them up, and Randall, one thing I do, not to talk about the DJI, but the entity list that they got put on. I know they got put on there for rights, human rights
violations.
But is that something that I say? Is it? I guess I'm saying, is that political, and does it scare, like Autel could be? Could they?
Well, we won't get blacklisted. It's just a different process, right?
Right.
DJI touts to have 14,000 employees. A lot of that is when they include their manufacturing.
Right.
If you include manufacturing, there's a lot more people and their manufacturing facilities are not in Shenzhen, not where the business is done. I don't know where they are. I don't know the details. But basically, when it was mostly senator driven, but right. I think that when the big government wanted to throw scrutiny at DJI, because they do capture data, and they were wondering, what is this data doing? Who has access to this data? That the Department of Interior took a DJI drone, tore it apart, put it through its paces, and said, we're fine with it.
Right.
DHS said, nope, DJI is bad. They're listening. They're paying attention to our stuff. You can't use it. That slowly snowballed into the creation of the SRR program from DIU to create Blue SUAS, which brought in 5 manufacturers of drone technology saying, we're approved and we're the non-Chinese option.
Right.
When there was no cybersecurity issue to be found to put DJI on that blacklist, they instead said, okay, human rights violation. That's what it is. And that comes down to probably working conditions that you or I would not accept. Right. And I don't know how harsh they are. I don't want to be like but
it's probably something that could be fixed very easy with a little bit more money in a better place, maybe, or whatever.
100% that it could be addressed. It will be addressed.
Right.
And I think that it's just it's people that don't understand that there's an industry being propped up by this manufacturer of, that has grown to a proportion where if you did the same thing with cars, if at some point you said you can't drive a car unless it's made by Ford, there's a lot of people that are like, well, shit, my Chevy, my Toyota, my Honda are now garbage, and I have to wait in this crazy long line to buy a Ford. Why would we do that? I don't understand why, in a world where we believe in free market access, that we're trying to be like, but we're not winning and we're sad about it, so we want to limit you by throwing shade.
Yeah, that's the only thing. You hate politics to get involved in
100%. And would I be humming a different tune if I would have joined a different organization? I would have strategically had to play the role that I'm in, right? But it just so happens that I'm a competitor of DJI, and I still say if you have a DJI drone, you should not be told to not fly it. You should not make that thing collect dust on your shelf just because the government is worried about it.
Right.
And there are entire drone programs around the country that are in public safety's hands. They went and took taxpayers' dollars, input them into the drone industry, and now they're being told
they can't
hang it up.
Yeah.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? There are lives being saved. There are communities being served by drone technology, and they don't have unlimited budget, nor do you want your tax dollars to go to more drones just because there's some scrutiny. I think that it's just the wrong message, and there's not enough pushback from DJI. Brendan Schulman's a great dude, but I think that it would speak volumes if Frank Wong, the CEO of DJI, would come out and say, look, you want to see transparency, here's transparency. But he hasn't done that. But I am.
No.
As a Chinese drone manufacturer.
It's refreshing. It really is, you know.
Yeah, but it seems overall the whole geopolitical thing. It seems like the whole entity list and workers' rights from China. It seems to have hit the drone industry, especially DJI, harder than other internet connected devices like cell phones. Oh, look at all the things that have cameras and can relay stuff back to their bill in China. Why aren't they getting the same scrutiny that the drones are?
Right.
I've heard it too many times that Apple phones are assembled in China, and that literally has all your data,
We're
photos,
being
contacts. Exactly what
my cameras is put on here as any of my drones.
For sure. And I'm glad that you guys are on board with that, because no matter what your political leaning is on how much you feel like China is a threat, which China's as a government, you don't want to see another rising power that you don't fully understand and you don't fully have a tight relationship with.
Yeah, I'm not defending China at all. I'm just defending why are drones being picked on harder than other Chinese-made devices.
100%. That's the distinction I'm making, is that we can say China as a country, as a government, there's as a military threat, it exists. But if we go to the other side and we just say Chinese people, Chinese industry, Chinese businesses, why are we shutting that out? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, they're getting punished because they own 83% of the market is basically why they're getting punished.
100%. The question about do I fly as a hobbyist or professionally, I want to answer. I have a Part 107. I fly like 4 times a year under Part 107. As a hobbyist, I take a drone with me when I go places, but I don't know if it's like anything else, but when you eat, sleep, breathe one thing, you kind of leave it on the wayside when you're out spending time on your own.
So Randall, I got to put you on the spot. Have you flown an Evo 2 before you became CEO?
Yeah, I had.
Okay.
I had. Well, because we still at FLIR we still send sensors to Oslo, so we have a relationship with pretty much every drone manufacturer, and that's what puts me in an interesting spot. Behind me, this side on this poster right there, I did a thing called Unmanned Underground, and that was the 4th edition of that, and I sat down with all 5 Blue SUAS CEOs, and they're all friends of mine. I mean, they're people that I respect and people that I always got along with, and so me sitting in this seat, they're competitors, but they're also friends, and I do see this industry as being, we should be making a better infrastructure and better education to grow the number of people using drones. It's not about fighting over the 17% that DJI doesn't already address, right? Like you said, 83%. That's why I'm using that number. Not that that's an official number, but we want to grow the amount of people using drones, and infighting does not necessarily serve us. Confusing the market does not serve us.
Randall, I got a question on the screen. Can you live stream from? Would that be a feature?
So Live Deck is a accessory to the Evo 2. Look it up. But that does exist, that you can live stream from it.
Okay, because Chris, they do a sunrise. They do a sunrise every Sunday, Saturday, and Sunday morning from different parts of the country. So that's a big thing for them.
And Randall, we want to close out the show with some videos, but I think Johnny has a Evo 2 video queued up. Rob Kamada, he was up in Rhode Island, and he demonstrated that FLIR camera for me. I got him taken off and got good shots of it, and that is amazing. He ended up showing me the video quality of the flare, and I was really impressed.
He's a
Ray,
police officer, correct,
I
Ray?
have Gary and Saul Sullivan's video. I don't have Rob's, I don't believe.
Okay, yep, all right. Well, anyway, I can personally vouch for that. That was a great camera. It really was, and he uses it for the Syosset Fire Department. He's a volunteer firefighter, and he is starting their drone program at the fire department with the Evo 2 drone.
So if I'm allowed to, because we are over an hour, and I want you to get to your videos and not be the disruptor of all
Oh,
this.
no, we're not worried.
Usually there's a time where there's like, well, is there anything else you want people to know? And it's like, I'm gonna take the opportunity
Absolutely.
to jump on what you just said about what was his name? The guy that from the
Rob
fire department.
Carmada.
All right, Rob Carmada is a patriot to the drone industry because he's this guy that has invested himself into drone technology and is now putting it in front of others. And I think that where we're at in the drone industry right now is that we need to start taking opportunities to not just share this technology with people that love the technology, not just people that are at the drone meetup and that you guys are already have common ground. We want to get in front of more lawyers, more financiers, more bankers, more people that work at the bakery down the street, because drones need to become normalized, first of all. Second of all, the more brains that are thinking about what can I do with this technology that would be of meaning, or the more people that are just being creative and taking beautiful pictures of it and sharing that with the world.
Sure.
Like, this is all to our benefit. The more people in, it's all going to make it so that we have a more sustainable drone piloting industry, that we can build more technology because there's more users, so there's more confidence to put resources behind building that technology, and eventually we'll have that US made true blue airframe that does all the things we want it to do. That's what I want to see as an American, and that's what we all want to see. But until the technology catches up, let's play in the same sandbox. Let's all try to just educate people that drones are doing great things. Drones can save property, save lives, save time, or just give you a perspective that you couldn't have before. Embrace where we're going as human beings in being able to navigate this new frontier of the sky without having to invest in a pilot's license and an airplane. Let's celebrate that, and let's educate more people that don't necessarily get it. That's where we need to be, and I'm willing to hold hands, link arms with anyone, whether they're end users, other manufacturers that are competitors, software developers, anyone, to tell that message that this stuff is real. It's doing really meaningful stuff. And when we start arguing about country of origin, when we start misbehaving and disregarding FAA guidelines, if you're not trust certified as a recreational user, you better be. And if you don't know what trust is, go type in FAA trust.
Yeah.
It is something that is required by the FAA as a recreational user to pilot a drone. It's a 5-10 minute quiz that you have to take, but you should be compliant. And where is that education? If you're a new drone user, who's educating you that you need to be compliant? Well, it should be the manufacturer, in my opinion. And I'm a manufacturer of drone technology, so we're working through the process of making sure that people understand that if you're flying a drone, there's certain things that you have to do to be compliant.
Randall,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Will it be something that I think we talked about it before? Should it be like a little placard in every drone box, to take that trust test before you, or is that something that,
we've talked about putting cards in. An issue, there it is. An issue with putting a card in a box is that you don't know if the drone is leaving the United States, right? If you send it to Canada, if you send it to Mexico, if you send it to Europe, if you just blanket put a trust card in every box, then now it's confusing.
I guess it could be part of the app, maybe. You
could build it in the app and geolocate it, but now you're telling us your location before you're flying. And do you want to do that? Welcome to my life, guys. There's no good way to do this. And it's like, there could be a simple solution, but then you have the conversation of, well, who are you recommending to use to get the trust thing? Now you're choosing, is it Pilot Institute? Is it Drone U? Do I want to talk to Greg? Do I want to talk to Paul? And I like both guys. How do I do this? And it is the complexity of my life that we have to prioritize. We have to say no to things. We have to consider so many different layers that you as a user might not consider. like, please give me a little bit of leniency to, like, I don't always have the answers, and it's complex. It's not like snap my fingers and it's done, but we want to do the right things. It's just takes time, takes effort, takes conviction, takes people buying in. You know, you don't want to steamroll and just say we're doing this as a CEO so you get
Right.
buy-in, but then there's 10 different avenues and eventually you have to choose. We're working through it. That's that's the soapbox.
Well,
Man, I tell you what, your job seems exciting, but I wouldn't want it.
Hey, Johnny, you could be CEO for a day and answer the 200 emails I get every.
Yeah, you take that day off or whatever. Hey, listen, Brad, I want to wish you all the success at Alltel. I mean, I
Appreciate that,
and
Ron.
anything we could do to the drone community, anything, even the smallest thing, reach out to us or whatever, because I think by judging by the chat tonight, I mean, there's a lot of support out there for Alltel and you in particular. So I think any little thing we could do to help out, you know, not only Alltel, but maybe the drone community in large, just reach out to us.
Like I said, educate people. Take every opportunity to be nice to the person that said, "What's that?" and "What are you doing?" Because you want more people to get it, and if they get it, we get beyond this awkward phase that we're in right now.
Randall, what do you see as the new technology? Will battery technology jump, or is that or will camera technology jump, or will it both jump at the same time?
I mean, eventually we're going to hit the GoPro problem where, you know, a Hero 5 was the same as a Hero 6 is the same as a Hero 7. I don't personally need a different. You could strap whatever onto me and I'm probably fine with what comes out of it. Drones are getting there. Flight time is, you know, there's efficiencies that have been made over the past 5 years, going from, you know, 17 minutes flight time to 30 minutes flight time. And I think that there's another jump. The next step, like really with the battery technology, would be hydrogen cell, and we don't have the infrastructure for it, so we have to kind of tamp our expectations there. So I'll answer your question in like the truest way that I can. Drones today do incredible things. Embrace what the drones do today. Looking too much in the future just sets you up for disappointment. You can do a billion things that you could not do 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
For $500. So instead of looking for fully autonomous drones that you can fly through a parking garage without GPS and it won't hit anything, like, cool, but why? Instead, take a drone out, go and fly with your kids, go fly with your neighbors, go take cool pictures, go, you know, take in more nature, go start your own drone adventures, be someone that captures something viral one of these days and you get to have the 1 million view video that's on YouTube. Like, go take the drone experience that way. Don't be tapping your foot waiting for it to get better, because it's already pretty freaking awesome.
I mean, and we talk about it 25 minutes or 22, 25. That's a long time in the air anyway.
You're breaking your neck at that point just by staring up.
And Brandon, you make a good point. The drones are at a spot now where they've come so far forward that now just increasing as a user, just increasing your knowledge and ability on how to use that technology could probably do more for you than going out and buying the next drone.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, we've been living in a world where DJI has set standards. That standard is an iteration or a new drone every 9 months, year. And it's slowed down during COVID, and I don't know if they ramp that back up, but we have been trained to expect that there's new technology tomorrow, so I'm going to hold back and wait for it. Well, what do you want it to do? Like, at what point are we going to be satisfied with where it's at and allow us to breathe and have 3-year drones where you're not feeling bad that you're looking at something that is no longer fresh or no longer the newest? And I think that's part of adding sanity to the drone industry, is that we're not chasing these feature sets that are not necessary just to differentiate, but let people really sink themselves into their drone, get to know it well. You drive the same car. I've been driving the same car since 2015 myself, and it's an older car than that. So I'm not bougie, but it's like, why do we have to not think of drones the same way? You could take an Inspire 1, which was an incredible platform, and do so many amazing things with that.
Well, and you're right. People don't even learn the features of the drone they have before the next one comes out.
100%. And we're trying to be sympathetic that if you invest in your drone, that you don't want necessarily a new one to be right around the corner, but then you have the people pushing for a new one to come around the corner because they're ready for an upgrade, and it's a tough balancing act, that's for sure.
And sometimes just a really good firmware update can bring new features and values to a drone that's maybe been out a year.
And Randall, I know you said you don't fly drones recreationally, but I want to give you a personal invitation to come to the South Florida Drone Meetup on April 2nd, 2022. And Florida is a great place to spend your vacation.
It sounds good to me. I think that can be worked out. The only thing is that I want to note that just because Autel's sponsoring it doesn't mean when I'm flying there that I'm not flying under a recreational user.
Well, I tell you, really, you were a great guest, and we really appreciate you being on the show. And I know everybody in the chat does, as well as Johnny and Ron. Thank you very much.
Randall, are you going to spin up? Are you going to spin up? Are you going to spin up in Austin, Texas?
No, I won't be at Spin Up in Austin, Texas, but I will be at Exponential in Atlanta in 2 weeks, and I'll be at Commercial UAV Expo in September. So if you're around, come and hang out with us. Like I mentioned earlier, we have probably the greatest group of drone people under one roof. They'll be standing in our 20 by 20 foot space.
One question I got to ask you: the two guys that you started the brick and mortar store in Las Vegas, are they working for you today?
No.
No, okay.
Much love to Mike Thorpe and Marcus Mitzi, but there is no way in hell that I could run a sane business with those guys ever again, and they know that.
You want to be CEO a year from now, so is what you're saying.
I think that so both of them were professional poker players. They both live in Vegas. They're both absolutely batshit crazy people, but I love them. Just they're doing other things other than drones. And someone asked if I'll be at CES. Yeah, we'll be at CES. But guys, I really appreciate you. Let's do this again sometime, anytime.
Absolutely. Well, look, we appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure. And I mean, if anybody got any questions, hey, they can just email you.
Randall, RANDALL at autelrobotics.com. Keep it short, or it will take me longer to respond, and that's on my word. But I will respond eventually.
Well, Randall, look, we really appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy guy. We can't thank you enough.
I'm gonna go grab dinner, but I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk again soon.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Easy, guys.
I'll tell you, man, that guy is awesome.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want Ron? Wouldn't you want him running Ron Brown Industries?
I would hire him for my company.
Yep. No doubt about it. Down to earth guy.
Well, I tell you what. Well, we got fifth. We got I got a Marcus. Well, I'm showing it backwards. Idaho quadcopter.
Oh, you got the lucky Idaho quadcopter hat.
Yeah, we got 16. We got 16.
Now is Marcus allowed to win since it's his hat?
Well, his name is not in here because he didn't get a correct answer.
Yeah, well then if he wins, it's going to be real trouble then.
Well, yeah, if he wins,
Johnny's going to draw the name.
I'm going to draw a name
and Remote Pilot 101 T-shirt.
Oh wow!
And let's see who the winner is. JC Flying.
Oh, my buddy John Carroll.
Yeah, John, we got your shirt right here, and man, listen. We had an incredible show. I mean, it's a little late. We're not going to show some videos, but we'll catch all those videos next week, Captain. It couldn't have been any better show. Man, that guy is, you know what? Sometimes you meet a guy that's like down to earth, and man, it's incredible. That company is in great hands. Not only are they in good hands, they're in great hands.
I feel a lot better about the orange pumpkin now.
Yeah. You're lucky. You're one of the lucky ones that have that drone.
Well, I'll tell you what, the minute, or if they do, and if they release a mini, it will definitely be a hit. And I will say we won't have to wait for it, Ron, since we made that order. What was it, March the 9th, I believe it was, for the
pre-order.
But no, that was great, man. What a great guy. And I want to thank everybody in the chat. We had over 50 people, almost 60 people in, and I hope we got your questions. And if we didn't, hey, email Randall. It's proved he'll definitely answer that email. And even CaptainRay laughed at how short it was. I think he just said, "Yes, I'll be on," or something like that. But like
I said, he probably has a couple minutes for each email.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave his email. I mean, when he did it on Dobo, I was kind of like sitting back and like, man, is this guy really getting his email?
And what he said about the mini, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Congratulations, John Carroll. Yeah, John, I'll get that in the mail the next day or two for sure. And it'll fit you. I guarantee it. And hey, it'll be a great show to where we'll get John on the show.
Again, I apologize to Gary and Sean. You specifically sent us videos to
well, I
show.
got Ray. I got them queued up. If we got a few minutes,
Well,
let's show.
we got a couple more minutes. Just show them quickly.
Yeah, let's
Guys,
roll it.
I'm going to run and rest my voice up a little bit for the next show. But thanks for having me. It was an honor being on the show with Randall tonight. And, this is a special night, really. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely,
Thank you for a great show tonight.
Good to see you.
Good night.
Oh, well, yeah. And this one was from the Rhode Island Drone Meetup. And this is Gary Sullivan. And this is his tugboat video. He did a little tugboat chasing at the meetup. Really. And I have to say, I tried to get close to that tugboat, and I did it from about 150 feet up in the air. But look how close Gary is.
Man, nice. He's riding with him.
Gary. Really, it's amazing. It really is. Now, I wonder, Gary, do you do a lot of boat chasing in your videos? Let us know in the chat. But this was a nice boat chase. Not really a chase.
Yeah.
You're just following that tugboat. And again, I got to give a lot of credit to Mark Fisher and the Rhode Island Drone.
Yeah, Ray, where y'all were flying from, you could see those tugboats, right?
Yeah, you can see them right across the Providence River. And it was just a great place to fly. It was a great day. They had over 50 plus pilots, that showed up. And now you got Sean Sullivan.
Yeah, I got
video.
Sean. Let's see. His is this one right
He did
here.
a time lapse of the park. And I tell you, it was amazing.
Yeah, very nice. This is Sean Sullivan.
Yeah, I tell you, Sean,
Wow.
it really is a great place to fly. It showcases the park real well. And then you did a time lapse in this video, which was so cool. It really was, And
I think it comes up near the end, I believe.
Yes, it was towards the end.
Very nice. Now, Ray, what was he flying there?
Very, very nice job, Sean. And I might add, Sean's son won a Captain Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly hat at the meetup. That was one of the prizes, and his son won it.
I think the time lapse should be coming up here. It's near the end. Yeah, there it is right there.
There it is. Look at this time lapse. Very, very cool. It really is.
Yeah, that's neat. I love the time lapse.
Yeah. Well, hey, Johnny, thank you for sending those videos in, guys. We really appreciate it. But we went way over our time tonight, because we had such a great guest.
Yeah, and, guys, I can't thank you enough.
Came in and he added to the show, and it was just a great show. It really was.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what a pleasure to have the guy on, man. It was incredible. And tune in. Coast to Coast Drones is coming up in a few minutes. Bill Thomas with Drone Therapy. Tune in and support all the channels, guys. Check the Facebook page. I did do a little revision to the drone channel guide. Not a lot's changed on it, but look over it. And if you want a copy, email me. I'll get it to you. Message me on Facebook. And then next week, Ray, who we got next week? We got JSK, Leonard
Bro, JSK Enterprise, and we got Lost Girl Hikes.
Lost Girl Hikes. Yeah, so that'll be next week's show. Will be a privilege to have them on. Leonard's a great supporter of a lot of channels, so tune into his videos, and he's in the chat a lot. Angela, of course, is in the chat, supported a lot of people. So yeah, support them. So guys, I want to thank everybody.
Thank you all in the chat. We appreciate you coming in on a Wednesday night, and we'll see you again next week. And, get out there, fly for fun, and fly safe.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.